Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. So give us like some background on you, your company. Let us know, like, how did this all begin for someone who doesn't know you? Like, give us some background.
I'm Dana Donofree, and I'm the founder and CEO of Ana Ono. I created Ana Ono to be chest inclusive lingerie after my own bout with breast cancer. Now 13 years ago.
Oh,
I got diagnosed the day before my 28th birthday. So what happened was I felt like I just was tossed into this world that was made for a much, much older woman than myself. And I've been a fashion designer my entire life. I had an incredible career. And when I went bra shopping after losing my breasts to breast cancer and deciding to rebuild them, I was like given this like array of like horrible, nasty grandma mastectomy bras. And I said, this is not okay. This is not who I am. It's not who I want to be. And I really felt in that moment that the world just kind of looked at me like I was broken rather than like sort of like a young woman that's, newly, ready to get married and, at the height of her career and climbing and all of these things. And I just, I realized that we could do better. And I figured I had the tools in my toolbox to do so. So I started designing bras that fit our new bodies. And from there, it just took off.
oh my gosh. I love it so much. What were you designing before you were diagnosed with cancer?
Oh, so I say I've been a fashion designer my whole life because I literally started making clothing before I was 8 years old. I had a sewing machine. My grandmother taught me how to sew. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for fashion. I was in high fashion in New York City. I've designed baby accessories, country
Oh,
western clothing, $10,000 red carpet gowns worn at the Oscars. I've really done it all. So
my
I had an
God.
incredibly robust career before I got my diagnosis. And I was really able to leverage that experience to give something back to my community.
So, like, as someone, and a lot of women share this story, right? Like, you're on the up and up and up of your career. Like, that's where you are, especially at 28. Like, you're a baby. Like, you dipped your toe into things really at this point. So, like, for you, career wise, what did that kind of do to you to kind of derail your career, and how did you get it so back to like the success you are now?
I have to tell you, it scared the shit out of me. Um, Hopefully I'm allowed to say that, but that's the real life. Fashion is and always has been an incredibly cutthroat industry. And at that point in time, it was still a little bit like the old school fashion era, not as much today, but it was back then. There were really long hours. I was traveling all around the world. And I really truly thought, because of when I was diagnosed in 2010, that if I told anybody that I had cancer, that I would be unemployable.
Yeah.
Companies just rely on their employees too much in this industry. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to sound like I'm broken. I'm going to sound like I'm incapable, that I'm not going to be able to take the travel trips that I need to. And I viewed it as a very, very negative thing. So I was very fortunate. The company that I was at, that I got diagnosed with, was a woman-owned business, and she was incredibly supportive to me and my treatment, which was amazing. But when I left there and I went sort of back into the mainstream industry, I really didn't tell anybody that I even had cancer. Everybody just thought I was rocking this short, little, weird, curly haircut because I wanted to. They didn't know it was because I was growing back my hair, my chemo curls from,
Yeah.
my chemotherapy. So I felt like in some ways I was kind of lying to people, because I was really, really hiding it. I was really sheltered. And it wasn't until I created Ana Ono, where I knew I was going to have to talk about my diagnosis. And I weighed that very heavily. I really said, here's an opportunity for me. And if I come out and I tell the world I had breast cancer and I create this business and I fail, I may never work again.
Mhm.
And that's really, truly, honestly, what I thought at that point in time.
Yeah. Gosh, what a heavy weight to carry, right? Like, I think when people look at like long-term survivors, right? Like 12 years out, right? There's
Yeah.
like,
13 in February.
oh, hot damn.
Yeah.
Okay. So when people see that, they're like, oh my gosh, like you're glowing, right? Like you're doing what you love. You're the picture of health because you are. Like right now, you are really. And they maybe, like other survivors, maybe don't realize that there are some dark days between the diagnosis and where you are now. And that's okay. But like there are some dark days, and that's natural, normal. It's rough, but it is what it is.
It's absolutely the case. I mean, I feel like, into social media, right? It's our highlight reel. It's really hard to show your tough days in a platform like that. And I even, would say to myself, I am healthier than I've been in a really long time, but like the cancer still looms. I was on, hormonal suppressant medications for over 8.5 years. They were horribly detrimental to my health. I took myself off of them at the risk of my cancer coming back. And I did all of that because I needed to live
Yeah.
as well. And that was really hard. But the only thing that kept me going was my work.
Mm.
So I've always been that way. I'm very, very passionate about what I do, but it's hard. Like, it's hard when everybody else has energy to go out and have a cocktail or grab dinner after work. And you're thinking about going to bed because you're flat out exhausted from the day. So those are real things. And those are real moments in all of our lives, no matter if you own a business or you're just employed or you're a mom, like that's a real feeling.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like the first bra that you created.
Oh, wow. Okay. Goodness. This is a good question. I was really, well, I called them my Frankenstein tits because I really felt like I was getting pieced back together like
Huh?
Mrs. Frankenstein,
Yeah.
and had many nicknames: SpongeBob Square tits, Lego
Okay.
boobs,
Okay.
all sorts of things. But my Franken tits were definitely like something I felt about my body. And really what I did is I also Frankenstein a bra. Like I just realized, I was like, okay, there's so many things that I can't have in a bra. So what can I have in a bra? And I was most comfortable at that point in time in a sports bra. So I thought, okay, if I'm most comfortable in a sports bra, maybe it doesn't have to look like a sports bra, but it can perform and act like one. So I started designing around that concept. And what was really cool, I launched the company with 5 different bras. And still what I did at launch, almost 9.5 years ago is what I live by today. I really wanted every facet of my life to like have an option because I had none. So it could be sleeping, it was working out, it was something I needed for post-surgery, it was something that was sexy, that I
Yeah.
could feel sexy in intimate moments. And then it was like sort of that weekend bra, just the loungy sort of something comfortable.
Yeah.
And I really honed into all of those moments of my life and started designing for them. And what was really cool was I was going through my whole development process, my design process. Of course, I had the body. So I was designing for my body. And then it was like the tester moment. So I reached out to my young survivor group and I invited everybody over for cheese and wine, because what else do you do when you're asking everybody to take their clothes off for you to try on new bras?
Exactly.
And what was so cool was like all of my friends had different surgeries. One of them only had one breast removed. One of them had, a tram flap. One had a flap from their inner thigh. One decided to stay flat. One had implant reconstruction. We were all different body sizes, shapes, chest outcomes. And I just kept putting these bras on thinking, okay, this bra is going to fail on this body type, and realizing that it was really fitting all of the surgery outcomes was like this light bulb moment that went off for me. And I was like, wow, there's more I have to do here.
Wow. Okay. So that was like 9 years ago, you said?
Oh God, that was even before I launched. So that was probably 2012.
Okay. Okay. Love it. Okay. So I mean, what you kind of touched on there is what a lot of women say, like after cancer, and I've heard multiple women say this, but after cancer, like they don't feel feminine anymore.
Mhm.
You know, you've lost your hair, you've lost your eyelashes, your eyebrows, You probably have what some people call a muffin top, spare tire, belly fat. Okay. You don't have your breasts. Okay. You don't have any hormones sometimes. Okay. And so to like feel feminine, like what was the reaction when women had that option or still do have that option? Like what's their reaction when they put on this bra that's like, this is nice?
It's the most special, most wonderful, honorable moment I get to share with
Mhm.
others,
Mhm.
truly and honestly. It's to me, it's like I'll probably even get emotional just thinking about it because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like you just talked about everything that cancer took away from us.
Yeah.
And it's different for each of us, right? Some of us don't go through chemo, so maybe you don't have the hair loss. Some of us aren't on hormone suppressants, so maybe you're not dealing with, vaginal dryness and, intimacy issues and all these things that get compounded. And I think too, as women, I'm going to say, because I feel like there's so many societal standards that we are meant to hold ourselves up to. And as much as we might think that we are strong and they don't matter, some of them do. And that's okay. We shouldn't feel guilty about that. You absolutely deserve 100% to feel beautiful, to feel sexy, to feel strong, to be smart. We deserve all of those things. But when cancer tries to take away an emotion, a feeling, that's when it's too much. And there is this desire, like I always say that Ana Ono is my alter ego because I am not a super feminine person. I'm like, I would much rather wear a suit with no bra than wear a frilly dress with lacy panties. I'm not that girl.
Yeah.
So, it was really funny. I felt like Ana Ono was a huge healing part for me because I did get to play with my own femininity and I got to make her ultra feminine when I didn't feel that way and I was longing to feel that way, but I didn't know how to get myself there.
Yeah.
And it's that emotion. I always say that Ana Ono is more than a bra because the fact that the bra is super soft, it's really comfortable, it's going to fit your body, like you're going to feel good in it, it's going to provide you confidence. It also reminds you just how beautiful and special you are. And that's what I hope to empower is like giving that light into your heart and into your mind and into your soul more than just, hey, you've just bought a great bra. Like it's more
Yeah.
than that to me.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, like when we look even back at bras, like they can be so utilitarian sometimes,
100%.
which is like so not exciting or fun at all, right? And especially like if you're in like a medical setting, that becomes really, really not fun. Like nothing about that's fun.
It's the entire industry. I mean, mastectomy bras were created by men who identified the fact that when women lose their breasts for breast cancer, they should and want to replace them.
Mm-hmm,
And the
mm-hmm,
way that you do that is a breast prosthetic and then a bra to hold said breast prosthetic.
mm-hmm,
Well,
mm-hmm.
guess what? We don't all want that. We
Yep.
don't all want a heavy weighted breast prosthetic. We don't all want to reconstruct our chests.
Yep.
Like we
Yep.
get to make a personal choice, but the industry for so long was like feeding that into the patient mindset that if I have to remove your breast, here's a version to replace it. It's great that it's covered by health insurance. It should be.
Sure.
So bras and breast prosthesis are covered by your health insurance if you undergo a cancer diagnosis or a surgery related to prevent one. And this is a big benefit to us. And I'm really happy it's there, but it means so much more than just that, right? Like it means other options, other availabilities to get the recovery products and the lifestyle products that you need to live your life fully. And yeah, when you're thinking about it like a medical device, it's probably going to be utilitarian. It's
Yeah.
probably not going to have feminine lace
Yeah.
details or
Exactly.
sexy little pieces because it's like, you are a woman, you have two breasts. Here is bra.
Yeah,
I don't know what
exactly.
it is. It's
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you're in such a unique space too, like being diagnosed in what did you say, 2012?
2010 is my diagnosis.
2010. Okay.
Mhm.
The world was an incredibly different place in 2010.
Yeah.
We did not talk about like chest inclusion, period. Like that was not a thing. Like women weren't like standing up and saying like, I just want to be flat. Like maybe somewhere, but they were perceived differently than they are now. So like, how has that been just to be able to like, really, you kind of positioned yourself in a place ahead of the time and then like just stood there with open arms almost to be like, hey, I'm here for it. Right. So what's that been like?
It was huge. I think when I started in 2010, you're absolutely right. I mean, just to paint a picture, I'm pretty sure Instagram just launched.
Yeah.
Your friends on Facebook were your friends in real life.
Uh-huh.
And I'm pretty sure Amazon was still selling books.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we painted a picture. But the reality is we didn't have access to each other like we have access now. So when I was going through my cancer diagnosis, I was truly, utterly alone. The other youngest person I met was the ripe young age of 50.
Yeah.
And I think 50 is very young now that I'm approaching that myself.
Yeah, ditto.
But at 27, there's she's talking about being a grandmother. I'm like, can I have kids?
Yeah.
She's in a deep, loving marriage. We're trying to figure out if we're going to get married or if I'm going to die.
Yep.
It's just very different moments in life. And what I realized when I started creating Ana Ono was I would tell people about it. And then like the questions that would come at me was like, oh, well, is it custom? Is it this? Is it that? And I started to dawn on me and I said, people don't actually know what breast cancer is.
Yeah.
We know that breast cancer affects old white women who appear to be happy with their pink ribbons and their feather boas.
Yeah.
That's what we think breast cancer is. And that was very, very jarring for me that I wasn't being seen. I wasn't being heard. I wasn't even in any level of marketing or information. But the big miss was that we weren't actually talking about the surgeries. We weren't talking about how women were amputating their breasts to save their lives.
Yeah.
We weren't talking about breast cancer reconstruction options, none of it. So when I created Ana Ono and I did our first fashion show at New York Fashion Week in 2017, I said, here is the moment that I have to show the world what breast cancer looks like.
Yeah.
Or nobody's going to understand why I've made a different bra.
Yeah.
Because if we're not talking about the actual treatments and therapies in a real way, then we're not going to ever identify the real use case and the reality of what somebody who doesn't have breasts looks and feels like. And that's when we did our show in 2017 with Cancerland and my dear late friend Champagne Joy. And we showed the world mastectomy scars.
Yeah. Wow.
And the CFDA back then deemed nudity by the appearance of a woman's nipple, which has now been since taken away after the women's movement and free the nip and all of these things. But back then that was still a very, very real strike against you at New York Fashion Week. And remind you, I am a fashion designer. I play in this court. This is like my Super Bowl. And so I knew when I did this, it was a make or break scenario. And I promised the producer that they wouldn't see any nipples.
Because there weren't any?
We didn't have any. We didn't have any nipples. So when we sent the topless models down the runway, I mean, I still get chills of that moment. That entire room screamed, got out of their chairs, started applauding, started yelling for these models.
Oh my gosh.
And then we went viral on New York Times overnight, and it's just been off to the races ever since.
Oh my gosh. Like, honestly, oh God, why wasn't I there? Like, oh my gosh.
There were only 50 people at our first show. That was the only amount of tickets that we had. Now we have over 500.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. There's so much there, right? Like when you talk about being the only one, like not seeing anyone like you. Yeah. Like I would say, I mean, what I was Googling after my diagnosis at the age of 30 was just very, very different than the people that were sitting next to me. I was trying to figure out like, what happens to my student loans if I die? Like, I'm like, what happens to these student loans that I have to pay? Like, and then the lady next to me has her adult daughter with her.
Right.
So I'm like, these aren't my people here around me. Right. And so then you turn to social media, gosh, and it has changed a lot now for sure. It has grown. But when I look at your social media presence, I don't look at, like, even still today, like preparing for this interview, I don't look at that social media presence as like a product driven company.
Mhm.
You know, like this doesn't ring to me as like product, which like you're selling a product, but like it's like a community really. But how do you really create that? Because you're not even so much telling your own story anymore, right? Like you tell your story, like you're open about it, obviously, but you're not even really doing that anymore.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, thank you for saying that. It makes me want to cry because this is like my like everything I hope I deliver into the world. But you know, it's a few things. One is I've never viewed this as a product. I viewed it as a lifestyle. And like my life changed after my cancer diagnosis on so many ways. But because of who I am and what I am with fashion, it's like I couldn't believe how much it changed my wardrobe. I never thought that my underwear drawer was going to be one of my problems.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem that needed solving because it affected me on every single phase of my daily life. And when I pinpointed it, my life changed again forever. But in the beginning, I didn't know it was this. I didn't know this was the problem. And I appreciate you saying that it feels like a community because that's, you know, I got diagnosed in such a weird time that I really was alone. And that's why our slogan is never alone. And I mean that because it's like, I don't want another young woman, old woman, person, anybody to step into a dressing room and cry because bras don't fit them anymore. That is such a damaging, traumatic experience. And if I can just stop that for some people so they never ever have to feel those feels, like I know I've done a great job, right? And that's what I strive to do every day.
Yeah.
And as we think about how has Ana Ono evolved over time, you know, this is interesting. I'm in my own sort of transition as my survivorship gets to continue on
Yeah.
because I was a young survivor in a really tough era. I was going to a funeral once a month at least. At least. Sometimes there would be 2 or 3 a month. So the loss that I encountered with limited drugs and access to therapies when I was diagnosed was massive and it was very real. And that was also very lonely because now as a young survivor, you see everybody around you dropping and you don't know why you're still here.
Yep.
And then I hit my 5-year mark and I was like, okay, well, now I hit my doctor's goals. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make it to another 5. And then I hit the 10-year cliff and I'm like, holy moly, I'm still here. What does this even mean? I didn't even plan for this moment. And now I'm on like year 13, inching to 15,
Yeah.
going, you know, the story is not my story to tell anymore because where I'm at in my survivorship is very, very different. And what I experienced in 2010 is very, very different than what somebody experiences that's diagnosed today.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to keep diving back into that bank because that experience, although yes, to some, is not the norm, it's now the exception.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot that has changed in over a decade in treatments for breast cancer. I mean, there are life-saving drugs that are hitting the market every month that are changing the outcome of somebody who has a terminal disease diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it might not be that they live forever, but hey, they might get 3 more years when they had 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge moment. So I think that there's an evolution too that I'm going through because now to me it's the story of all of the people that inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all of our bras are named after one of the people that have modeled them or have been a part of Ana Ono in some way, shape, or form, because that namesake has an energy to it. And I want to be able to share that because what I get to see, that honorable moment that we talked about earlier, that enlightening into your intimacy and your physicality and your emotions, like to me lives on in everything that they give to me by letting me share their name as a part of the bras.
Yeah. I mean, like honor is really the way to describe that. Yeah. I've searched for a better term of like being able to be involved in someone else's survivorship in an impactful way. But yeah, that's really the only way to describe it, really. So you mentioned a little bit about like bra fittings being like a horrible moment, right? So how do you make it different? Like if someone goes to your website, wants to purchase a bra, you know, I say this with love. I have tried out many different iterations of a bra fitting because they do suck, right? Not a breast cancer survivor. They just suck in general. They're going to double, triple suck as a breast
Yeah.
cancer survivor. But like they all seem to suck. How do you make it not like that?
Well, I also feel like as an industry, we have horribly overcomplicated bras and bras fitting anyways. So I'll start by saying that. But what Ana Ono, our real true difference, and something that was a huge goal of mine and took years to build out, and we're still trying to crack the tech code to give the community the experience that they deserve. But something that I'm incredibly proud of is our shot by body type.
Mm.
So the bra fitting doesn't have to be that difficult. But what is difficult is choosing what is right for your chest type.
Okay.
So every single bra that is appropriate for that body type is shot on a model that doesn't have any breasts, living with aesthetic flat closure, shot on a unilateral model who's flat and wants to support natural breast tissue, is shot with somebody who's using custom breast forms, weighted breast forms, lightweight breast forms, different breast reconstructions, implant, flap surgeries. And then, of course, you know, we have lumpectomy, right? Lumpectomy still needs special products, either sometimes for a moment or sometimes for a lifetime. But whether it's their surgery because their incision is in their breast fold, it could be the radiation therapy that they're undergoing where they need a soft support to their natural breast tissue. And a lot of times that radiation continues to shrink the breast over time. So we could meet a lumpectomy patient 2 or 3 years past their treatment because now their breasts are two completely different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are categorized on the website. So if you are a lumpectomy patient, you can see a model whose breasts are 2 different sizes because that is your reality.
Yeah.
If somebody has implants above the muscle, below the muscle, previvor, survivor, thriver, whatever, everybody's there. Everybody's represented. And that's such a huge, huge difference for me because when I was shopping for a bra, and I went to all of these bra fittings, and then I went online to see what was humanly possible because there had to be something else out there. All of these mastectomy bras were shot on healthy, beautiful, gorgeous models with incredible cleavage.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you don't think I don't know the difference? Those are boobs.
Yeah.
These are foobs.
Yeah.
They are 2 different things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it really means a lot to me to give that experience back to the community because we should be seen, we should be heard.
Yeah.
Every chest is a normal chest. Every chest deserves representation, whether it's got breasts or doesn't have breasts. And I think that that was really a huge game-changing moment for us and the industry as a whole to say that sometimes people with one breast still want a bra.
Gosh,
Want a different bra.
yeah, like it should be seen, right? And it's not, it's still not, right?
Yeah.
And I know that just because my Instagram feed, as yours is too, is like just littered with boobs.
I cannot sometimes open up my Instagram feed in real life around
That's
strangers.
exactly
I
it.
can't.
I swear I was over with my sister, you know, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are you looking at?" And I'm like, this is day in, day out around here. Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, like this is a breast cancer survivor. This like, oh my gosh, but like still, we're not like seeing that. Like for me to see it, and for you too, to see a mastectomy scar, it's like, okay, that's the world, but like that's not how people perceive it, even still.
Totally. And I think it's changed. I think the understanding of mastectomy has evolved.
Mm.
You know, there's always trolls, right? There's always trolls that are like, this is gross. You don't have to show this. Why do you show these scars? I mean, I was one of the first mastectomy tattoos on the internet. And it was me and a dear friend of mine, Allison. We both had articles that hit in 2 different platforms that like literally days between each other. And now I made a joke because I was on, you know, this is going to date it a little bit, but like Mashable and,
Okay.
you know, all of the BuzzFeed, all of the platforms, every single one of them had my story about my mastectomy tattoos. And the comments were awful. People were hating on me. You just got through cancer. Why would you destroy your body like this? Where are your nipples? You're so gross. Why would you tattoo after cancer? The tattoo's going to kill you. I mean, it was constant hate. And fast forward to 2022, and like, I don't know. Oh my God, I can't remember the magazine. The short Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest has my mastectomy photo in it. And I'm like, okay, we have come a ways.
This is your grandma's magazine right here.
Your grandma's Reader's Digest magazine has my mastectomy tattoo in it. And everybody's like, oh my God, you're beautiful. And I'm just like, because that's why you have to tell these stories. And that's why it's got to hurt a little bit too, because change hurts for a lot of people. And you know, I applaud all of the brave individuals that are out there putting out their scars and sharing this part of their life, because it happens to 1 in 8 of us, and it's probably happening to more than that.
Right. And we're talking like 1 in 2 people, like just with cancer, right? So like half of our population. Okay. So, I mean, gosh, and that is a good point with like, it does hurt, and there are always going to be people in the space, and you're no strangers to that too. I'm sure still your social media content gets lit up every once in a while with some trolls, but it's like, it's not for you. It's not for them, you know?
Yeah. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for the people that do hurt because of it. And it's not right. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Sure.
I still live by those rules, but it's an unfortunate, toxic environment that has good and bad things about it. And
yeah, it kind of is what it is. I used to spend so much time like editing comments on my social, like deleting like nasty things, blah, 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 whatever. And now I'm just like, go for it.
I think, yeah, everybody's opinion and point of view is valid in their eyes, and we can disagree with it. But, you know, I think, you know, where it starts to draw the line is when people are misunderstanding or don't understand, especially when you're talking about breast cancer, the risks of breast cancer, how it affects people, the scars, you know, it's like, those are the things where you're just like, you need to open up your eyes and live in a world. Because, you know, living on your screen is not productive for anybody. But I think that, like, you know, that's why you have to push through it. I mean, we've had times, our New York Fashion Week shows support stage 4 metastatic breast cancer research. I mean, even as I've been doing that for over the last 5 years, we have customers that message us and write us to tell us that they're going to stop following us because we are talking too much about stage 4 breast cancer. That is real. And it happens. It happens to me personally. It happens to my brand. But I don't stop. Because they can stop following me, but the message has to go out. The message has to be spoken about. And I will tell you, there are some of them that come back when the disease has progressed and now says, wow, like it did make an impact. Maybe at that point in time, they couldn't handle it, and that's okay. Make your space safe for you.
Yeah, true.
If you don't have the mental capacity to bring in the information, you don't have to, but you can't ignore it like it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Amen.
And there's a balance, right?
Yeah. And just by doing that, like, you've attracted so many more people that are likely very loyal to you in your social media, your community, your brand, than had you just changed directions because someone complained, really.
Yeah, because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Well, guess who the people that are hurting? A third of us that are diagnosed when they don't wake up the next morning. That's hurt.
Yes. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what direction you're headed now. What's on the horizon for you moving forward?
Oh, well, there's so much on the horizon. I'm so very, very lucky to really, really get to do what I am good at and what I love so much, which is designing new product. And running the business is fun, but designing is better. But no, I'm really excited. At the end of this year, we are launching a new collection called AO Health.
Okay.
And it will really have some post-surgical garments that will help with healing, that are covered by health insurance. We are also expanding into compression garments to help those with post-surgery compression, as well as breast lymphedema.
Mhm.
It's going to be really incredible, game-changing activities happening. Can't say too much, but I will be so excited to come back when it's all ready to launch. And I think our big missing piece, which I had done a few years ago, but because of COVID, we had to kind of slow down on some of our development. We will be bringing back swimwear. So it'll be
Ah,
really exciting. I mean, the white space is so huge.
yeah.
We have nothing but ways to help the community. We just have to get there as a business. And we're expanding our sizes, we're expanding our shade ranges. There's a lot that we have left to do. And trust me, I am not giving up.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so one last question for you. So if you like having all this perspective, really, as a cancer survivor and still being in this space, if you were to give one piece of advice to someone who was just diagnosed with cancer, like what would you say to that woman? Like, what's the one piece of advice that you'd pass along?
This is always hard for me because I do have like two pieces of advice, and maybe they're a little bit corny, but I think that they're important because you really have to wake up every day with a new perspective, a new point of view, and take it one day at a time. I have gotten through 13 years of survivorship by taking it one day at a time. I think it's really important to not overwhelm yourself with the what ifs because we have no control over it. Like patient shaming drives me crazy. Anybody that says you could have avoided your cancer by eating more broccoli, ugh, gag. So it's putting the patient in the seat of you did this to yourself. That's not fair. There's so many different reasons why cancer happens to all of us. And so don't take on that load. Just take it one day at a time. Get through one medication, get through one surgery, get through one treatment, get to one next nap, get to one next walk. Like just keep it in the moment. And if and when possible, remember that everything that you do should be filled with joy.
Mm.
And if there is anything that you are doing in your life that does not bring you joy, you must extract it. Because time is too short. And if you fill it up with things that do not bring you joy, you have wasted it. And that is that is the hardest lesson I have learned over the last decade. I still work on it, but it is so, so, so important.
Yeah, you got to be cutthroat. Cut,
Got to
cut
be
it.
cutthroat when it comes to your joy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Gosh, that's good advice. That's good advice right here. Agreed. Like I hear from so many women, I'm just like searching my past, trying to figure out what caused this,
Yes.
trying to
Let
figure
it
out
go.
what did it. So I make sure I don't do it again. Yeah, don't. Sometimes like good things happen to bad people, but
Yeah.
what you can do now is like move forward, do things now. You can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, but gosh, if we're searching for an answer for why cancer happens, I think like you're a brilliant, brilliant scientist, right? That no one's been able to crack that code. So maybe we just leave that for another day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Great chatting with you. And thank you so much for sharing your gift with us on the podcast and with the world.
Oh, thank you as well. And appreciate for you making space for me. I really, really enjoyed this.
Yes, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for being on the show.